Sir, I said you need to wait outside. Snoop Dogg blinked, lowering his sunglasses just enough to meet the receptionist's eyes. She didn't flinch. Her hand hovered over the keyboard, lips pressed into a thin, polite line. She looked maybe 23, new, eager, by the book. The name tag read, Courtney. He glanced around the lobby. It was his lobby. The chandeliers, the West Coast art, the custom scent piped in through the vents, smooth lavender and eucalyptus, just like he'd requested during construction. The Doghouse Hotel had been open for 3 weeks, and this was supposed to be a surprise visit. But now... "Let me get this straight," Snoop said slowly, his voice low, velvet smooth. "You're telling me I gotta wait outside?" "At my own hotel." Courtney raised her eyebrows, clearly not impressed. "Sir, we have a high-profile guest checking in. This area needs to be cleared. You're not on the list. I'm just doing my job." The security guard near the entrance shifted his stance. Snoop caught the motion in his peripheral vision but didn't turn. He'd dealt with gatekeepers before, in studios, boardrooms, even courts. But this hit different. He was in jeans and a hoodie, low-key, no entourage, just a driver outside in a black SUV. He hadn't told anyone he was coming. No press, no staff alerts. That was the point. He wanted to see how his investment ran without the fanfare. But clearly incognito had its downsides. He inhaled, then exhaled through his nose. "You know who I am?" Courtney tilted her head. "I mean, you look like Snoop Dogg, but come on, people fake that all the time. We had a guy last week with braids and sunglasses trying to say he was Ice Cube." He actually chuckled at that, despite the growing irritation curling in his stomach. "You ever hear of facial recognition software?" "Not my job," she said briskly, typing something. "Look, I'm not trying to be rude, but unless you're a registered guest or on the pre-cleared list, I can't let you in the VIP area. We have protocols." "You've got a protocol for turning away the man who signs the checks?" She looked up, frowning. "Sir, I don't know who you think you're intimidating, but..." Just then a voice cut through the lobby. Wait, is that..." A tall man in a blue suit walked in from the elevator hallway, holding an iPad and looking frantic. "Oh my God, Mr. Broadus?" Courtney's eyes darted between them. "Wait, Broadus?" The man jogged over, hand extended. "Mr. Broadus, we weren't expecting you until next week. I'm so sorry for the confusion. I'm Greg, Director of Guest Experience." "Please come with me." Courtney's face went pale. "You're... him?" Snoop leaned on the marble counter and smiled slowly. "Yeah, I'm him." Greg motioned frantically to staff nearby. Someone brought over sparkling water. Another adjusted the music volume, switching instantly to a Snoop classic. Courtney stepped back, stammering. I didn't know. I thought..." Snoop raised a hand. "It's cool." But it wasn't cool. Not really. Because that moment, the hesitation, the judgment, the way she dismissed him without a second thought, stuck. He'd worked his whole life to build something bigger than himself. And even inside his own walls, he still had to prove who he was. As Greg led him toward the private elevator, Snoop glanced back over his shoulder. He didn't say anything. But he was already thinking about what came next. To see what happens next, subscribe to the channel and drop a comment. Was the receptionist just doing her job, or did she cross the line? Let us know below. Courtney stood frozen behind the reception desk, the screen in front of her now a blur. The moment Snoop disappeared into the private elevator, whispers started swirling like a sudden gust through the polished lobby. A concierge leaned over to her. "You good?" She nodded stiffly. "I thought he was just another guy trying to get backstage access." The concierge raised his eyebrows. "That's Snoop, that's his hotel." "I know that now," she said under her breath. Courtney had graduated college 6 months ago and moved to LA dreaming of working in hospitality. Luxury hotels, VIP clients, upward mobility. This was supposed to be her big break. She memorized the employee handbook, practiced her greeting, learned the scent profiles in every room. But no one had trained her for that moment. Greg returned 20 minutes later, his iPad hugged tight to his chest. He stopped at the desk and gave her a long look. "I need to debrief with you," Courtney swallowed hard. I know I messed up. He gestured toward the hallway. Let's talk in the office. Inside the staff break room, a sterile space with vending machines and laminated charts, Greg shut the door behind them. He's not mad, Greg said finally. Yet, but that was a major misread. I didn't recognize him. He had no security, no reservation under his name. I thought... Greg held up a hand. Listen, I get it. You followed protocol, but this isn't a chain hotel. This is a brand extension of a living icon. You're not just checking in guests, you're protecting the face of the place. Courtney felt her cheeks burn. I wasn't trying to be rude. I believe you, but this job isn't just about being polite. It's about knowing the room, reading the moment. He sat down across from her, softer now. You ever heard the phrase emotional intelligence? She nodded weakly. Good, because you're gonna need it. What happened today? It's not fatal, but it is a lesson, and you've got about 24 hours to make it right. Her eyes widened. Make it right how? He stood up. That's up to you. Meanwhile, upstairs in the penthouse suite, Snoop eased into the armchair by the window. The city below sprawled wide and glittering. He held a glass of iced tea, swirling it slowly, not drinking. That's the third time this month, he said aloud. His cousin Dee, who handled some of his day-to-day logistics, sat nearby on the couch. What you mean? That I get profiled, doubted, dismissed. Man, you're Snoop. You built this hotel. You're on the artwork. Doesn't matter, Snoop said, tapping the side of his glass. They don't see me, not really. They see an idea, a stereotype. A costume. Dee looked uncomfortable. I mean, the girl downstairs probably just didn't recognize you. Snoop gave him a look. That's the point. He stood and walked to the window. I didn't put my name on this building to play dress-up for tourists. I wanted something real, respectable, welcoming. Dee nodded slowly. So what you want to do? Snoop was quiet for a beat. Then, I want to see if she figures it out. Figures what out? He turned back toward the room. Whether she's just another employee, or someone who understands what this place could be. Downstairs, Courtney sat alone, staring at the reflection of herself in the black screen of her terminal. She knew she only had one shot. Courtney didn't sleep that night. She replayed the scene over and over. The sunglasses, the hoodie, her firm tone, his calm but unmistakable disappointment. How many times had she scrolled past his face on Spotify playlists or seen him smiling in hotel promo ads? And still, she'd frozen, misjudged. By morning, she had a plan, or at least the start of one. She stopped by the bakery across the street and bought a box of warm, fresh cinnamon rolls. She knew from orientation that they were Snoop's favorite. A throwback to his grandma's kitchen, the trainer had said. A small gesture, maybe, but it was something. She also printed a handwritten note. Mr. Broadus, I made a mistake yesterday. I didn't see you for who you are, not just as a public figure, but as the mind and heart behind this hotel. I judged by appearance, not by presence. You built this space to reflect something bigger than image. I understand that now. If there's any way I can make things right, even just by listening and learning, I'm here. Sincerely, Courtney, front desk. She tucked the note beneath the bakery box lid and handed it off to Greg the moment he arrived. He raised an eyebrow. You sure about this? Courtney nodded. Just let him read it. That's all I ask. Upstairs, Snoop hadn't been expecting anything. He was sipping coffee in the lounge when Greg arrived with the box. No silver tray, no polished delivery, just a recycled paper bag and a quiet, "From Courtney." Snoop opened the box. The smell hit first, warm sugar, toasted dough, then the note. He read it slowly, once, twice. Then he set the note down, stared out the window and smiled, just a little. 2 hours later, Courtney was answering phones at the desk when her earpiece crackled. Courtney, please report to the rooftop bar. Mr. Broadus would like a word. She froze. Staff usually didn't go up there during daylight. It was closed until evening hours. Nervously, she stepped into the elevator, palms slick. When she arrived, Snoop was sitting alone at a corner table with a stunning view of the hills. No security, no guests. Just him and the soft sounds of a jazz playlist playing through hidden speakers. He didn't look up right away, just sipped from a teacup and motioned for her to sit. Courtney approached carefully. "Thank you for seeing me." He nodded once. "You got good taste in cinnamon rolls." A pause. Then he added, "And good handwriting." She smiled faintly. It felt important to say something, not just to apologize, but to own what I missed. Snoop leaned back in his chair. "You ever heard the phrase, 'It ain't about what happens, it's about what you do with what happens'?" She nodded. "Yes, sir." "You made a mistake, but you didn't run from it. That's more than most do." She swallowed. "I don't want to just work here. I want to understand what this place is supposed to stand for." Snoop looked at her for a long moment. "You ever shadow the executive team?" "No." He tapped the table. "You start tomorrow." Courtney blinked. "Wait, seriously?" He smiled. "You want to learn? Learn. We'll see what you do with it." She stood, stunned, as he turned back to the skyline. By 9 a.m. The next morning, Courtney was in a blazer and slacks, not her usual front desk uniform. She stood outside the executive boardroom on the 12th floor, holding a notepad and wondering if she was about to drown in acronyms and management jargon. But instead, the day started with something else. Snoop. He walked in, dressed sharp in a tailored navy suit, but still with that unshakable smoothness. He didn't sit at the head of the table. He leaned against the edge, sipping black coffee. "First question," he said to the room. "What makes a hotel memorable?" The director of operations answered first. "Flawless service." The events manager followed. "Luxury." A third said, "Exclusivity." Snoop turned to Courtney. "What do you think?" She hesitated. Then, "Feeling seen." The room went quiet. Snoop gave a slow nod. "Exactly." That became the theme of the day. They reviewed guest feedback, but instead of focusing on complaints about Wi-Fi or room temperature, Snoop asked questions like, did this guest feel respected? Did they feel like they belonged here? He brought Courtney along on a walkthrough of the entire property, every hallway, every lounge, even the service kitchen. "You know what this place used to be?" he asked, pointing toward the rooftop lounge. She shook her head. "A condemned motel. Nothing but concrete and busted dreams. I saw potential, not just for design, but for a message." They paused by a framed photo of a woman in her 60s, with gray braids and a bright blue dress. Courtney read the plaque. "Miss Sharon, housekeeping lead, inaugural staff member. She from Long Beach," Snoop said. "Raised 3 kids solo, worked 2 jobs. When I hired her, she cried. Said no one had ever treated her like a professional." Courtney nodded. "She's the heart of the place, isn't she?" "Exactly. You don't build legacy with wallpaper. You build it with people who feel they matter." They stopped by the VIP suite corridor. A guest was yelling at a bellhop. The kid looked flustered, barely 20, holding 3 bags and apologizing over and over. Snoop stepped in, calm but firm. "Is there a problem here?" The guest started to launch into a tirade, then recognized him. Instantly, his tone softened. No, just a misunderstanding," the guest said quickly. Snoop didn't smile. "He's doing his best. If something's wrong, we'll fix it. But you talk to him with respect." The bellhop's eyes widened. He nodded a quiet thanks as the guest slunk away. Courtney watched, impressed. "You don't just talk about culture, you live it." "Every day," Snoop replied. By late afternoon, she was exhausted, but it was a good kind of tired. She'd taken 5 pages of notes, ideas, observations, lessons. Her mind buzzed with them. As they rode the elevator back down, she finally asked the question that had been building all day. "Why me? Why give me another shot?" Snoop didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Because you saw your mistake and you came back with humility. That tells me more about your character than any resume." She nodded slowly. "I won't waste it." He looked at her and smiled. "I know." As the elevator doors opened to the lobby, Courtney felt different. Not just like a staff member anymore, like part of something bigger. 3 weeks later, Courtney stood behind the reception desk. Not as a trainee, not even as a front desk agent. She'd just been promoted to guest relations lead. It was her first day in the new role, and already she was handling a delicate situation. A couple from Atlanta, whose luggage had been delayed at LAX. Instead of tossing them a generic apology, she offered them complimentary spa access, arranged a personal follow-up with the concierge, and had their dinner reservation upgraded to a window table with champagne service, all before 10 a.m. The guests left smiling. She exhaled. Behind her, the lobby buzzed with calm elegance, low jazz, fresh orchids, and the ever-present signature scent. But this time it didn't feel like a stage. It felt like home. Later that afternoon, Greg approached her with a grin. "Snoop wants to see you upstairs. He's doing one of his surprise walkthroughs." Courtney adjusted her blazer and headed to the elevator. On the way up, she thought about how far she'd come, not just professionally, but personally. That moment she turned him away still lingered in her memory, not as shame, but as a starting point. It had cracked something open in her, her assumptions, her awareness, her listening. When she stepped onto the rooftop, Snoop was already there, leaned against the railing in a crisp tan overcoat. The view stretched out behind him, sun sliding down over the Pacific, casting a soft gold light across the skyline. He turned as she approached. "You've been busy." "I'm learning," she said. He nodded. "People notice. Miss Sharon told me you personally helped her nephew get an interview here. Said you didn't have to, just did." Courtney smiled. "He reminded me of my brother. Hard-working. Just needed someone to see it." Snoop looked out at the view. "That's the point of all this, you know. I didn't build this place just to slap my name on a wall. I built it because I wanted folks, guests, staff, anybody, to feel like they belong somewhere real." "I get that now," she said. He turned to face her. "You've become part of that." Her chest tightened a little. "Thank you." "That means a lot," he grinned. "Don't let it go to your head. I still saw your reaction that first day." They both laughed, and the tension melted. "Thing is," he said, "people will always judge. By looks, by names, by outfits. But what matters is how you respond. You responded right." Courtney nodded. "And I'll keep doing it." Snoop checked his watch. "All right. I got a podcast in 20 minutes and some cinnamon rolls calling my name." He started walking back toward the elevator, then paused. "One more thing," he said. "We're starting a mentorship program here for young staff who want to grow into leadership. I want you to help design it." Courtney blinked. "Wait, seriously?" "You already living it," he said. "Might as well teach it." As he disappeared into the elevator, Courtney turned back toward the skyline. The city looked different now, not because it had changed, but because she had. And down below, in the lobby she once controlled by the book, now she led with intuition, with heart. The mistake that could have ended her career had started something better instead. Not just for her, but for everyone walking through those doors. If this story moved you, subscribe to the channel and tap the video on screen. It was picked just for you, and you're gonna love it.